Hey, you want to make sure that Idaho doesn't become California? Check this video out. We really need your help. Hey, Dave Edwards, Treasure Valley Dave here. And you know me, reading through the emails, come across different stories. This is one that you need to know about. It's the same kind of people that really screwed up California, and they're trying to get a toehold here in Idaho. We need your help to make sure they don't do that. If you've already moved up here, make sure you get involved and make your voice heard. And if you haven't got up here yet, get on up here before those California types get up here and screw up Idaho. So what's going on today? Well, I read this story from the Idaho Capital Sun by George Moses. Idaho's closed primary election is a situation that cries out for remedy. So what is a closed primary all about? Or what's an open primary? So California used to have closed primaries, and that means that, say, Republican Party or Democrat Party in the spring, they would have a primary election. And this is as opposed to in the fall when they have the general election. In the primary, you go in, and if you're a Democrat, you vote within your Democrat Party for different Democrats to move to the general election to compete against a Republican or a Libertarian or whoever else is there. So that's a closed primary. You're in your party nominates people, and then you vote on within your party which, say, Democrat or Republican, if you're talking about the Republican Party, that you want to move forward in the general election. And then in the fall, whoever the Democrats had put up in the primary and whoever the Republicans had put up in the primary, then they go head-to-head in the general election in the fall, and then the people come out and vote for whoever they want. The thing is, and this is probably the rub, in the primaries, you have to be a member of the Democrat Party to vote in the Democrat primary election in a closed system, and the same with the Republicans. And but California, they did something screwy. They said it's an open primary. That means anybody from the Democrat Party can go over and vote Republican in the primary, and they can vote for the most liberal Republican to advance, to the general election. So they would have a very weak Republican going against a very strong Democrat. Does that make a difference? Yes. Ever since California's had their open primaries, it has been not just a Democrat-controlled state, it's a freaking Democrat-controlled machine. And there's no way it's ever going to get fixed. I mean, ever. So what kind of shenanigans did we see here in Idaho? In Idaho, we saw that people would re-register from Democrat for the Republican closed primary so they could vote Republican. Again, vote for the most, politically, the candidate that would meet their political needs, meaning like the most weak candidate that would be running against their Democrat later in the general. So those kind of shenanigans went on a lot. And in Idaho, the Republican Party, we still have closed primaries here in Idaho. In Idaho, and the Republican Party recently voted to say that you needed to be a Republican for a really long period of time before the primary. And what that does is it hopefully tamps down on these shenanigans that the Democrats were doing to come and vote for Republicans, or vice versa. I mean, it didn't happen that way, but I suppose in theory it could. So now, apparently the Democrats are kind of teed off that, we pulled that shenanigan, or that we stopped them from pulling that shenanigan going forward. And so now they're calling for a open primary, which means that they can do exactly what they were doing before, but be easier on them. Heck, we want to make life easy on the liberals, Marxists, Democrats, whoever it is that wants to undermine democracy in Idaho. So let's go through this story just a little bit. This author says that the use of a closed primary election has deprived large numbers of Idaho's residents of full participation in our electoral process. Well, that's a blatant lie. Democrats can still vote in Democrat primaries. Republicans vote in Republican primaries. No one's being deprived of anything. That's the way the system works. Going on, this exclusion is based on the misapplication of the right to free association. It's a situation that cries out for remedy. So what he's talking about here is then the different parties, Republican, Democrat, whatever, it's a private association. And then it's like, you can associate with whoever you want. You can create rules for your party, your group, whatever. So that's what he's talking about there. And he says, it's a misapplication of the right to free association. Going on, when these associations enter into the public sphere and are financed with public money, they ought to be constrained and to protect the rights of every citizen. There again, every citizen's right is not hampered by whether it's a closed primary or not, because they can associate with the people they want to associate with. If they don't want to associate with them, then that's their free association choice. They don't have to. But this guy is saying that, boo-hoo-hoo, Democrats can't go screw up Republican primaries. But the rub, he's talking about if it's in the public sphere and financed with public money. Okay, let's talk about PBS, public broadcasting. They're in the public sphere and financed with public money, and they're as left-wing, and they have not the rights of every citizen certainly in mind. They are not fair and balanced, are they? Would you say so? Leave a comment below. Going on, he said, since it's the party's asset to bestow, it is certainly within any party's rights to use whatever means it wishes to bestow it. Nothing in law or principle prevents that. That's very true. An open primary does not in any sense challenge private freedom of association. So he's saying there that if we have a primary that allows Democrats to vote in the Republican primary, that doesn't impact free association at all. Well, actually it does. The Republicans bring forth particular candidates that they want to bring forth, and then you have Democrats interfering with that. I'm saying that probably does challenge the private freedom association. Oh my gosh, I tell you what, you get such a headache when you try to understand the reasoning behind some of these left-wing things going on. He continues, the party's desire, it can manage its nominating process at its own expense and in ways that provide that exclusivity. So he's saying that government money out of the parties, then parties can do whatever they want. So he's coming down to the rub that it's not whether it's right or wrong, fair or not. He said it's because you're using public money to make these parties. And so if anything has the use of public money, government money, obviously your taxpayer money, then the lefties should have complete say over what goes on. I don't get it. But significant conflicts with the larger public interest happen when a party calls on the state to manage its avowedly private business. Really? I was a small business person in California. The state was telling me how to manage my business all the freaking time. I had no control over it. And that's democracy. That's capitalism in America. Believe me, the state is in every single thing. The Commerce Clause, they can make that thing stretch like a rubber band to go over any kind of a thing. So whether you have a private business or not, what I'm saying is the state's going to be involved. At some level, it's going to be involved. So to say that if the state's involved, the state has to have control, well, I'd say pound sand, really. Continuing, the legitimacy of elected government in a democracy rests on the bedrock of the fullest possible citizen participation. So if the Democrats vote in Democrat primaries, Republicans vote in Republican primaries, everybody still got fullest possible participation. I don't get it. The notion of excluding an otherwise qualified voter from an election whose purpose is to produce elected officials should horrify any advocate of democracy. This guy is so full of hot air, I'd hate to put a pin in him. He'd probably blow halfway across the room like a Chinese balloon. Oh my gosh, excluding an otherwise qualified voter. We're not excluding anybody. In fact, so this person is voting. It's like if you went, maybe you have, I don't know, Cub Scouts, Toastmasters, whatever, and you vote because you want to have, donuts on Thursdays. So if I'm in the competing club down the street or a different club across the country, what does it matter? It has no impact whatsoever. It only impacts the people within that club, and that's how it should be. And then that club puts forth their candidate, to go against the candidate another club put together. And I don't care if it's 2 or 10 or however many. Some of those European countries got, oodles and oodles of different parties. And it doesn't affect democracy, right? Because you can still vote in your party. You freely chose to go with that party. All righty. Continuing. Any electoral contest for public office conducted by the state with public resources must be open to all citizens. Well, there again. So if the government is putting money into these races, it's still open to all citizens. All Democrat citizens can go in the Democrat one. All Republican citizens can go in the Republican one, and so forth. In fact, they become a means of barring significant part of the electorate from a key step in the electoral process by having closed primaries, and they encourage political extremism. Au contraire, California, open primaries, Democrats can have control over the Republican nominating process for the Republican candidates for the general election. And what we've seen in California, Gavin Newsom, do you think there's political extremism going on down there? And it wasn't because of a closed primary. It happened even more. I mean, it just went off the rails once it went to an open primary system. So this guy is 100% backwards. He continues, the simple principle is this: no registered voter should be excluded from voting in any public electoral contest. Any requirement is an offense against true democratic government. Blah, blah, blah. You know what? I bet this guy's eyes are brown because that's just how tall they stack that stuff. And then he says the only feasible cure is a citizen initiative. Citizen initiatives are hugely dangerous, as anybody from California knows. For one thing, you have tons of, the government can put out a citizens initiative. They can fund it, they can market it, they can put together the language on the ballots to be completely misleading. Other organizations, I don't know, the Sierra Club or whoever, they can put together citizen initiative, and they can use their pool of targeted demographic type. But what I'm saying is they can have all the liberal people and exclude the conservative people so it can get on the ballot. And here's the thing too. I remember Prop 209 and Prop 187, hugely popular with the people in the state of California. This is several years ago, right? But it was what they were talking about was conservative things that would be more of a conservative nature. And as soon as they got approved by the citizen initiative, a federal judge, a judge stepped in and put the kibosh on it. So it's like, yeah, the citizen initiative is great because the government can do stuff that they wouldn't otherwise be able to get away with. But in California, they get away with whatever the heck they want. And if the citizens get a little, uppity, you send in a judge to squash it all down. So anyway, that's what's going on in Idaho. We need your help. I don't think this thing has any legs. I've talked to some people that are politically connected up here, and they agree that this has no legs. But just this kind of an idea of catching some ground up here, we need your help. We definitely need your help. Hey, so if you like this video, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel. I appreciate that so much. Hit that like button. And, as always, Treasure Valley Dave, looking forward to helping you get home.